Dear students, I am Sobha Bansiwal, Assistant Professor English, SPC Government College B. Today I am going to explain the critical appreciation of the poem Ode to Autumn by John Keats. Uh, this poem was written in September 1819, and this poem expresses Keats' love of nature. In this poem, he describes the season of autumn. There are there is a faultless construction of this poem. In this poem, there are three stanzas. Each stanza comprises of 11 lines, and in each stanza, Keats describes a different aspect of the season of autumn. Just for an example, in the first stanza, he describes the bounty of the season, the fruits of the autumn season. In the second stanza, he describes the occupations of the season. In this stanza, he personifies the season of autumn as a winnower, a gleaner, a reaper, and a cider presser. In the last stanza, he describes the songs of the autumn season. Uh, this poem, uh, this poem has a sensuous quality. Um, As Keats was a romantic poet, his poetry has all the characteristics of romantic poetry, such as sensuousness, pictorial quality, and love of nature, etc. In this poem, in the first stanza, uh, we he describes the fruits of the season, such as apple, vines, gourds, with sweet kernels in them and honey. All these fruits appeal to our sense of taste. Uh, in the second, in this stanza, he describes various pictures of sights of nature which appeals to our eyes, and in the last stanza, he describes the songs of the season which appeals to our sense of ear, sense of hear, sense of hearing. Uh, for an example, he says that in the last stanza, he describes the songs of the season, such as twittering of swallows, chirping of crickets, and whistling of robin redbreast, and bleating of lambs. All these appeal to our sense of hearing. So the whole of poem is full of sensuousness. Other quality of this, other characteristic of this poem is its pictorial quality or its imagery. In this poem, he presents picture after picture before our eyes. For an example, he says that all the branches of apple trees bend towards the ground because of the load of apples, and there are vine the roots the root the thatched the cottages whose roofs are thatched are overgrown with vines, the vines of grapes. Means the roofs are thatched with vines, and in this poem, he describes the season of autumn as a winnower. He personifies the season of autumn as winnower who is sitting carelessly on the granary floor in the field, and whose hair are lifted by the air. And he personifies autumn season as a reaper who cuts uh, crops, uh, but goes to sleep due to intoxication of fumes of poppies, and her works remains to be undone. Uh, and he personifies autumn season as a gleaner who goes towards her home, carrying a load of crops which have been cut on her head, um, and as a cider presser who is watching intently the drops which are coming outside of cider press, in which she is making the juice of apples. So this poem has pictorial quality. We see picture after picture in this poem, and as Keats was a poet of romantic age, so he loved nature and he described nature in his poems. And this poem, the Ode to Autumn, which is a season, is full of nature pictures. There is a um, uh, here we see that Keats loves the common creatures of nature like lambs, grasshoppers, um, robin redbreast, swallows, all these, etc. In Keats' love of nature has a Greek quality also, because Greek people personified objects of nature. In the same way, Keats also personifies objects of nature, as he presents them as human beings. And uh, another quality of this poem, another characteristic of this poem is that it has objectivity. Uh, Nowhere in this poem Keats expresses his own emotions, um, his 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 own feelings. He keeps himself outside of the picture. He only describes the season of autumn. There are no philosophy, no autobiographical elements uh, in this poem. Uh, this poem has felicity of expression or felicity of diction. He uses many epithets like um, hilly born, barred clouds, season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, and etc. So this poem, which was written in September 1819, it is a description of the season of autumn. It shows Keats' love of nature, and it shows his characteristics as a poet, such as his sensuousness, his love of nature, his pictorial quality, uh, and felicity of expression. Thank you.